Hey YouTube, alright, I'm here to make a video after I was just watching Drive Girl Drive video, and about a video she talked about reading the privacy statements with Uber and Lyft and the importance of that. But I really want to go on the topic that she had discussed in her video, so let me give you a backdrop. Hey, number one person. So let me tell you, her video, right? Drive Girl Drive. She has a YouTube video. She makes some real good videos too. She's out there in California. And she made a video about the privacy laws with Uber and Lyft. But basically what happened was that I think she probably is due child support from her baby daddy. And since she can't get a court order for him to, levy his wages, because as an independent contractor for Lyft and Uber, they can't serve those court papers to Uber and Lyft and collect on his pay because he's not considered an employee. And then Uber and Lyft obviously is not going to it's not going to levy his wages due to a court order from the state. So as a result of that, because of privacy laws, they have to protect drivers' information. And another point she was making was about protecting customers who may attack Uber and Lyft drivers, and how you can't get their customer information in case something happens to you. But that's not what my video was about. My video about, or my discussion about, is when she said that he doesn't file any taxes or tax returns, and as a result there cannot be no levy on his refund because he doesn't file his tax return. So my response was, if he's driving for Uber or Lyft or any of these ride-sharing companies getting a 1099 and you're not filing your tax return, the IRS will file it for you. And the reason why I told her that was because I said, even though he may not file, if you only work a 1099 and you only work as self-employed, and Uber, Lyft, and all those companies, they're going to report that 1099 to the IRS for sure. Anything that's $500 or more, they're going to report it to the IRS. So if you've been working with Uber and Lyft, and they're going to report that tax, those 1099s to the IRS is going to see that you haven't paid any estimated taxes that you're supposed to pay quarterly, by the way, and two, you haven't filed a tax return on all of that income, and as a result you're not paying self-employment tax. So what they're going to do is going to file a delinquent return. Now, a delinquent return is when the IRS, when you do not voluntarily file that tax return and the IRS had to file it for you. They don't need a whole lot of information. All they need is how much money did you make and what income is being reported under your Social Security number. Uber and Lyft is going to report, and all those other companies are going to report it. So if you don't report it, the IRS has all that information and they're going to file it for you. They're going to file a regular 10 return, tax return, filing 0, meaning you're not going to get any deductions, you ain't going to get no exemptions, and they're going to file it. And they got all the numbers they need. And then if you have not been paying self-employment tax, you haven't made any estimated taxes, you don't work another W-2 to offset any taxes from the taxes you're supposed to pay on that self-employment income, what do you think is going to happen? Correct, you're going to owe money. So if you already owe money and you have, on top of that, the penalties and interest on the money you owe, and then you're going to get charged a delinquent penalty. That's the penalty where is 100% of the tax. And trust me, a delinquent penalty can be up to 25%. You don't want no delinquent penalty. Sometimes people owe just a little bit of money if they was to file their own tax return themselves, and you get to deduct all the deductions and mileage and all those expenses, and then you don't pay anything, you probably end up owing about $1,200 or $2,000 or something. It just depends what you make. But that little bit of money that most people owe, they turn around and try to avoid filing a tax return because they don't want their money to be levied. First of all, if you ain't pay no taxes and you ain't pay no withholdings, you ain't got no money to take for child support. You owe. There is no money. The IRS can't give a balance to the state. They say, okay, well, here goes a bill to child support. Here you go. The IRS is only going to give money to the state or levy your wages, and child support is when you owe, is when you have a refund coming to you. So these dumb Negroes, because I hate to say it, because sometimes, most of the time, that's what they do. They try to avoid paying taxes. They avoid paying child support. And that goes for women too. Women pay child support too. But most of the time, it's men that pays child support. But there are other parents. Well, I ain't gonna say parent, because you're not a parent if you don't pay child support. If you're not a parent if you run out on your child, and just because you don't get along with the other parent or the other spouse or whatever, you don't just run out on nobody. You don't just run out on children, and then you try to use that little bit of money as hostage. It's about, she ain't getting my money, but your dumb ass could go out there and buy some Jordans and go out there and do foolishness. But you thinking that little bit of money, that little $100, $200 that you pay in child support, people act like, even if you worth millions of dollars, that little $1,000, $10,000 child support, you thinking that you doing something. I ain't paying no. You worth millions of dollars, and they tell you to pay $10,000 a month in child support, but yet you making millions. That's nothing. Same thing goes for people who have a regular job, regular Joe Blow or whatever. That little $200, you thinking that little $200 you pay for a month for child support, or whatever the amount of money the court is telling you to pay for child support. Trust me, that ain't nothing compared to what that other parent has to pay to take care of that child. People think that, she ain't gonna use my money and go and spend it on get her hair done and get her weave and get her nails done, or spend it on some other nigga. You know how they go. People always talk crazy. That's why I don't have no kids. Because I think I would have to probably jump on somebody's ass if I had to deal with some bullshit like that. But anyway, back to my topic. So if you don't file your tax return, and you working these 1099 job gigs, and you ain't filing, trust and believe, the IRS is going to file for you. Now, they're not going to file this year. So let's say you ain't never paid no taxes. You ain't got no W-2 to offset the tax or nothing. And you made, say, even if you made, say you made $10,000, and that's a very low figure, because you could easily make $10,000 if you was to drive Uber and Lyft and Grubhub and all of them. If you did all of them in the whole year, from January all the way to December, or even if you did it a half a year, you could easily make that. What's going to happen is that the IRS is going to file that return, and you're going to owe taxes, and let's say it's $2,000 you owe. By the time you owe that $2,000 in taxes, and the IRS files that tax return 1 year later, because that's what they do, If you did not file your tax return this year, you didn't ask for a 6-month extension, which is October 15th. Extension to file is not extension to pay. So if you owe that money, you're still going to pay interest and penalties. But if you did not file that tax return and you didn't ask for a 6-month extension to avoid a delinquent penalty, they're going to wait a whole year. Next year, they're going to file that return. A whole year later. And when you get a letter in the mail, under reporting of income, CP 2000 notice, or if you get another letter of a delinquency notice, it's going to show the tax you owe, it's going to show the interest and penalties, and then it's going to be that big whopping penalty, delinquent penalty. And trust me, you don't want to just sit there and not file a tax return because you want to avoid paying child support or getting a judgment. You ain't pay no taxes all year round, so what the hell are you avoiding? You're going to either avoid the IRS, which will land you in jail, or you're going to avoid child support, which is going to still land you in jail. But trust me, you really don't want to be considered tax evasion, which is a federal crime, and then that's when you really don't want to get in. That's when you really don't want to be in trouble. True, all that because of you don't want to pay child support. You ain't pay no taxes. So if you're self-employed and you ain't pay no taxes and you don't file, the IRS is gonna file for you. And let's not talk about what the state gonna do. The state the same way. And then if you owe money to the state, they're gonna take your driver's license. They're gonna suspend your driver's license, and then when you get pulled over, and then they look up in the record and they see that you have a suspended driver's license and you driving without no license, then you're gonna be put in jail for driving on a suspended license. Or they may put a warrant for your arrest. And this is the state. You can't get arrested for the federal for taxes unless you did tax evasion. And trust me, sometimes they could constitute you doing tax evasion, especially if you haven't been filing for year after year after year. And at that point, they're gonna say, see, that's where people get in trouble. You know, all these big stars on TV or big movie stars, and they be like, so and so may be facing 3 years in prison for tax evasion because they be hiring these accountants or whoever they be hiring, or they'll even hire an accountant to do their financials, taxes and stuff. And they turn around, you start owing the government. Start owing the government when you start getting in that $10,000 to $1,000 range. You know, the reason why some people be owing $2-3 million is because of those delinquent penalties. That's what's killing them. That's what kills them. They don't file. And then you miss, and then you don't file. Don't file no return. Go right ahead. You self-employed and you 1099, you ain't got no W-2 to even offset any of the taxes that you owe. But just 1099s alone, you're gonna owe taxes. That's why I was trying to tell people, pay your estimated taxes throughout the year. An estimated tax payment is due April 15th, not April, what month we in? July. A payment is going to be due July 15th, so it's time to make a payment, y'all. But don't be one of those people. Don't be one of those people talking about, I don't want to pay, I ain't filed no tax return, and I owe child support, and then you sitting there and not filing no tax return, and you working 1099, and you know you're gonna owe. You're gonna owe. You ain't pay no taxes, none. You ain't filed no tax, and you work at 1099. So I don't know what kind of job that people could do. I don't know what kind of job people do, and you ain't making at least $500. You make at least $500, at least 1 month. You know, so I don't know. But I just want to make that video because I just it's response to someone else's video I saw, and they was talking about it. Hey, number 3 people, I'm back. Oh, you know, and by the way, that last order I did get a tip. I got $7.81 tip, and then I had got the service fee, so I made about $25 in that one delivery. So, but the customers are being aware about that tipping. They're not. Instacart, y'all messing up big time. So, anybody got any questions about what I just said, or you want me to show you or repeat what I said? Because basically the topic of this discussion is about not filing taxes as a 1099 or independent contractor. And I was telling people from another previous post, she was saying how her baby daddy was avoiding paying child support and he doesn't file no taxes. And I said, even though Uber may not give that information out, they're going to have to report that to the IRS, that he made money, and all those gig economy gets a 1099 to the IRS. And if you're not paying anything, if you're not paying taxes, if you're not paying the estimated tax throughout the year, the IRS will file it for you. So if you didn't file no tax return and you've been working these 1099 jobs and you didn't ask for an extension of file, not extension of pay, but extension of file, you're going to get a delinquent penalty. And next year the IRS is going to file that tax return. So if you just turn around and owe $1,200, that $1,200, it could easily turn into $5,000, easily. And you don't want to do, and trust me, you do not want that. You don't want that. So just file your tax return, people, please. Can you file it? Because at least if you know that you have a lot of expenses, mileage, you know, already I checked my miles. I already got $15,000 worth of expenses or mileage from January of this year all the way to now. I've been tracking my miles with Instacart, driving to and fro, and already I got about $15,000 of miles expenses. So that's a lot of miles that I've been driving, and I've been keeping track this year. Now I'm quite sure my other if I take the actual miles, well, not the actual miles, the actual expenses, like part of my home office deductions, my maybe depreciation of the car, and phone bill, internet, it might come about the same, to be honest, but we'll see. But that's all I want to say. What y'all talking about? I know y'all be talking amongst yourself in the chat room. Who else is on here? Y'all ain't saying who's on here. Uh-oh, it's almost 5 o'clock, y'all. Almost time for me to go to the gym. Where's my water? I need to make sure I drink enough water. See, I'm charging my Fitbit. See, look. I'm charging my Fitbit so I could put in my steps. I can't believe it. I had one order all day. All day. From 10 o'clock this morning. No, from 11 o'clock this morning till now. I only had one order. And then when I go to the gym and I come back, 6 o'clock. Let me see, because it's what, 5? Then I'm supposed to resume back again at 6. Oh, thanks. Did you understand, or did you miss any parts that I said? Because I was addressing about my other YouTube friend. She was talking about her baby daddy avoid paying child support, and Uber wasn't giving out information to serve his his lien. They wanted to put a garnishment on his wages, but Uber and Lyft saying that since he's an independent contractor, not an employee, they didn't want to garnish his pay because he worked for, and he's an independent contractor, and they didn't do it. It's not that they don't want to. It's not that they can't do it. Oh, you came in late. Okay. So basically, it was about a privacy. It was a YouTube video that was made about privacy with Uber and Lyft. She was having problems getting Uber and Lyft to service the court to garnish his wages so he could pay his child support, and they said it was privacy issues and they couldn't garnish his pay that he was getting paid when he's driving for Uber and Lyft. And I was telling her that even though they're not gonna do that, because I don't think because they don't want to do it. I just think they don't have the people to do it, and they don't have it. They could do it. I don't think you have to be an employee to not garnish no wages. If you're working as an independent contractor and you get wages from these companies, and that Uber and Lyft gets a court order that they are to give that money to her, they could do it. It's just that they're too lazy to do it, in my opinion. It ain't got nothing to do with privacy. Nothing to do with privacy. Not a damn thing. Some people, them companies don't have human resources to do it. That's why they don't do it. But what I was saying was, I said, well, if he filed his tax return, they could garnish his tax return. But she was telling me he don't pay taxes and he don't file taxes. And I said, well, that's okay. If he made money with Uber and Lyft and get a 1099, it gets reported to the IRS. And if he doesn't file, and you self-employed and you don't have no job to file a tax return, you do have that 1099. And if you work 1099 all year long, he's not paying no taxes. He's not paying estimated taxes. He's not making his quarterly payments, because there's a quarterly payment that's due April 15th. So all of us, we got to remember, we got to make that first quarterly payment, because we should already made 2 so far, one in April and one in July. And then another one's going to be due September, and then another one's going to be due December, and then another one's going to be January of the following year. But that's another. So when you work at 1099 and you work in all these jobs, Uber, Lyft, Instacart, whomever, and you worked from January to now, you made way over the amount of money that they're going to report. They're going to report that income. You know? So if you owe $1,500, say that's the taxes you owe, $1,500, and that's minus all your expenses, all your exemptions and dependents. What this person that's running to not want to pay child support is doing is, the IRS is going to file that return for you. They have all your income information. They're going to add up all the 1099s, and they're going to say, here you go, we filed it for you. And then they're going to charge a delinquent penalty, which is 25%. Plus, they're going to charge you the interest and penalty on the taxes you didn't pay that you owe. And then they're going to charge the interest and penalties, estimated tax penalties, delinquent penalties. You see all those penalties they're going to put on you? And exactly. So if you file a tax return and you owe, right, and you can't pay by April 15th, you ask for a 6-month extension to file that return. So say the tax return that was just due this past April, if you didn't have time to file, or you couldn't file and you owe, it's better to file that tax return anyway. Yes, it's going to add up, and I'm going to tell you how much it's going to be. I'm going to give an example, because I worked at IRS 10.5 years and I've seen it all the time. Somebody didn't file an extension, they end up owing only $1,000. $1,000. Now that may be a lot to most people. You know, they say, oh, that's a lot, I don't have $1,000. If you don't have $1,000, all you have to do is do an installment agreement, or ask for do an installment payment plan, and you could say, I could pay it in 4 months or less and pay $200 a month or $250 and that's it. Or if you need an installment agreement, they could break up the payments in 72 months. But file that return anyway, and then if you need to make an adjustment later on or say, you know what, I have a whole bunch of deductions, and that's why I try to help people. See, I was giving free advice years and years, and I said, well, just let me see your return, and I'll look through it, and then I'll look at it, and I end up finding them about, you know, I say you got about $20,000 of deductions that you could deduct, and then they end up getting a bigger refund. And I find it, people go to H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, oh, let us do a double check, we could find you some money. True, but let me tell you, chances are some people don't have no more money to find. Now, if you self-employed and all you have is self-employment income and you didn't make any estimated tax payments, and you don't file that return, and say initially you just owe $1,000 in tax, by the time the IRS files that return, which is 1 year later, they're gonna file it. That $1,000 end up owing is gonna end up giving me $3,000. $3,000 plus adding up. It ain't worth no $400, $500 delinquent penalty on top of just owing $1,000 and then the interest and penalty. That just don't make no sense. And that's the biggest thing that hurts people, that delinquent penalty. I have a guy right now, he works at SunTrust, the one that's interviewed me a couple weeks ago. He come calling me. I met him a year ago at a financial workshop. He was doing he was one of the speak participants talking about, yeah, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth avoiding not paying taxes, all because you don't want to pay child support. Stupid. It's dumb. You know, you ain't got no money to pay. They ain't got, if you owe taxes, they not gonna garnish it because they ain't nothing to take. So why are you gonna sit up in here and risk getting your license? Yeah, might as well do it right the first time. It ain't about doing the taxes correctly, because if you make a mistake, the IRS is gonna correct it. But don't try to avoid paying. You know, I ain't gonna file no tax return because I don't want them to take my money. You ain't got no money to take. How you talking about you but nobody take no money if you ain't paid no tax return? All a refund is overpayment in tax. That's all a refund is. You pay too much money throughout the year in taxes, and the government owes you that refund because you pay too much. That's it. That's all a refund is. And if you self-employed, you ain't paying no taxes. You ain't got nothing withheld or nothing. The only thing is with being self-employed and being a 1099 is how much taxes are you going to pay. That's it. How much money do I get to keep? Do I get to keep a lot of my money? No. Do I get to pay less in taxes, or will I be paying more in taxes? I'm gonna try to pay as less taxes as possible, because by the time I pay, you know, I already got $15,000 of deductions of mileage. That's how much driving I've been doing from January till now. It ain't even the end of the year yet. So you know, if I make $30,000, $35,000 with Instacart and all these little gig jobs I did, you know, I'm gonna pay my estimated tax. Matter of fact, I'm gonna make my first estimated tax payment sometime on this week, because the next payment is due April 15th. Not April. I keep saying April. The next payment is due is July. So we have to make another payment. We have to make a payment in July, and then you got to make another payment in September. Yeah, there's a lot of miles. I was surprised. Cause see, it's 20 miles just for me to come out here to Suwanee and Cumming, and then that's just to get into the zone. And then when I go back home, that's another 20 miles. So that's 40 miles just for me going to the zone and coming out the zone. Then when I get up and drive to the stores and drive to the people's house, shoot, that's another 80 miles. So, and I do this every day. 7 days a week, you know, so it's a lot of miles, I'm telling you. And then if you drive an Uber and Lyft and picking up passengers, that's why people don't drive around the city burning up your gas with no customers. If you don't have nobody in your car, you go somewhere and park at the Quick Trip, and then you wait till you get a ping, and then you drive. So right now I'm sitting at the Chick-fil-A, you know, I sit at the Publix, and I don't be just driving around, but by the time, because I already have to drive 40 miles to and from home, you know. But yeah, that's what you do. You don't not file and try to pay, and don't try to pay. You don't have to figure out how much I'm supposed to pay. There's a formula for that. You can go online at the withholdings calculator, and you could turn around and figure out how much you're gonna pay. But let me tell you the best way to know how much you're gonna pay. And this is what I do. What was my taxes last year? Whatever your taxes was last year. Oops, get out of here, fly. Oh, you work, okay. Do you work from home, self-employed, or you working from home as an employee? Meaning that do you work from home from a company? Because see, if you're working from home, you could deduct your home expenses, you know, your square footage in your house. So whatever room, make sure you designate a room and work and make your home office. Oh, you work for CETA? How do you get to work for them? What do you do for them? I would like to find out. But let me tell you how you do it. So you work from home for CETA, right? You get to deduct your office expenses. There's a form for working from on your tax return. It's office expense. It's not office expense. It's your office expenses. But if you work from home, you get to deduct that. You get to deduct your computer, your part of your mortgage or rent, the square footage. Okay, I do custom stuff. Is that work from home job where you have to go online and apply? I would be interested in knowing about that, if they still looking for people, because I'm looking for a job. I appreciate if you send me any information if you can. Send it to my email. You can write it down. It's tsmallwood68@gmail.com. I'm looking for a job. I mean, you know, it's just getting too hard, you know. That's why I've been trying to work these 80 hours a week with Instacart. You know, almost 80 hours, but, you know, 66 hours. I had scheduled myself for like 78 hours. And I just, you know, I cancel some hours because it just gets to be too much. It gets to be too much doing all those hours like that. You know. Oh, T Smallwood. TSMALLWOOD 68@gmail.com. I appreciate it. Alright, let me see. What time is it? I'm going to be monitoring the top. Oops. Almost time for me to go to the gym. See, I'm going to the gym today, y'all. I ain't playing. I'm not playing. I don't care if I have to do 30 minutes or whatever. I got to go to the gym. I can't be litigating anymore. But let me tell you. So what you do is, how you figure out what your taxes are, even if you work a W-2, and you work a regular job. Thank you, I appreciate it, Monique. So let me tell you what you do. So, and you will get a good estimate. So say you made, on your tax return last year, and say you made like $50,000. And that doesn't make it, and that's not any difference if you self-employed or W-2. And you look at your taxable income, that's your exemptions and your standard deductions or your Schedule A. So whatever your tax is, if you know what it says, your tax on the minus when they give you the standard deduction or in your exemptions, and they give you your taxable income, then there's that part that says tax. So say your taxes was $4,000 last year. That's what you paid, and that's what your taxes are. So what you want to do is you take that $4,000 and you divide that by 4. So that means every quarter you're supposed to be making. That might be high. That's too high for $4,000 for $50,000. Let me see. It's kind of hard, but okay. So the thing is, whatever your taxes are on your tax return last year, if it says your taxes is $2,300 or $2,600, then you divide that by 4. And when you divide that by 4, then that's how much your quarterly estimated taxes is going to be. And that's just a rough estimate. So all these are not set in stone. I'm not saying your taxes would be that, but I'm just giving you an idea of what your taxes would be. So most of the time, if you do that, and when you take out all your expenses and your office expenses, because see, you're lucky, Monique, because see, you get to deduct all those job related expenses that they don't reimburse you back for. Your internet, your computer, your light bill, your internet, I said that already, your square footage of your house for your office space. If you have a mortgage, you can deduct the points, your mortgage that you pay, and then you work on the weekends, your drive. How do you do that quarterly taxes? Oh, what I was saying was, you take whatever you paid last year in taxes. Look at your tax return from last year. My shift is over, thanks. Okay, Instacart. You're gonna say my shift is over now. What I'm saying, how you determine it is that you can either do the withholdings calculator from the IRS website, or you could figure out what you paid last year in taxes. If your income is the same, pretty much, like say you worked at a job, and your income's pretty much going to be the same, right? So what you do is you look at what you paid last year, and whatever you paid last year in taxes, it says taxes. It says taxable income, and then when you look at your taxable income, and it say you single, and then it says your taxes on your income is $3,000. That's what your taxes are. You take that, what you paid last year in tax, and you divide that by 4. Because if you're going to make quarterly payments, you do it 4 times a year. See, if you didn't work, did you have a did you work a regular job too, or did you just do all 1099s? Because if you did, see, last year I started doing ride sharing, and it was only part of the year. Okay, so what I'm saying is that take that as a guide. Whatever you did last year in your regular job, then May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, it's just like me. Like last year, I did ride sharing like 6-7 months last year, and I had a W-2 from when I worked at the IRS. So I ended up getting back $2,400 or something like that. I ended up getting back $2,500 for a refund, and then I ended up getting back $1,000-something back from the state. So what you do is that you should be paying about you should be paying probably about $6,000. I don't know. It just depends. What I'm saying is that whatever you paid last year, then apply it for this year. Whatever the tax you paid last year, if your tax says $3,000, then divide that by 4. But if you have a W-2, if you working a regular job this year and you working a ride sharing 1099 this year, then you should have enough in your withholdings through your job to cover that tax. So if you have a regular job, I did not know I could do that working from home. I thought that because they cut me on taxes, I could do that. No, you should be able to deduct your those office expenses. Unless they paying you, like I'm not talking about regular job paying. I'm talking about unless they tell you, oh, give me your phone bill and give me your light bill and give me your mortgage and we pay it on behalf of working from home, then they reimbursing you back. If they telling you, oh, give us your bills and we reimburse you back for those expenses, then you should be able to deduct those expenses. Whew. All right, it's time for me to go to the gym. I'm gonna still keep talking with y'all while I get in the car. I was just trying to charge up my Fitbit. Yeah, you should be deduct the office expenses. Oh no, you should have been took those deductions. Cause see, when I worked at that raggedy Amazon from home, even though I didn't work the whole, I didn't stay there, but I'm going to be deducting my mortgage and my light bill and my electricity bill and my internet, and I have to pay them, and I'm going to deduct when they had installed my Ethernet cord to rewire my house, so I get to deduct that because it was related to a job expense working from home. So next year when I file, yes please, thank you. So next year when I apply, I'm going to be deducting that because I incurred that expense to work with Amazon. And even when I start my home business from home, you get to deduct all that.
Good day.
Good day. What? You could go back those 2 years and adjust those tax returns. And you could do that, file an amended return. Just send me your information when you send me the email, and I could help you and tell you what you could do about that. You could always amend a return going back 3 years. Is it 3 years? Yeah, 3 years. You could amend a tax return. You can go back 3 years and file and amend a return. So if you weren't doing that, you could go back and correct all that returns and get all that money back that's due to you. You'll be surprised how many times people are owed thousands of dollars more. I didn't get it. SQ, I missed it. Ooh, it's hot. Ooh, it's hot, hot, hot. These leather seats are burning my butt. Ooh, these leather seats. Yep, you sure can. And it's a whole lot more you could deduct than those little expenses too. The headset and all that stuff. You could deduct internet, the square footage of your house or apartment, electricity, internet, telephone. I'm trying to plug up my phone and get all this heat out this car. God dog, I only been sitting, I ain't sat in Chick-fil-A that long. I'm glad I got these air conditioned seats, but it's gonna take a minute for it to get cool. Whew. That heat just directly right on that damn leather, burning my butt. Whew. Yeah, you could deduct all of that, because on the return there's a thing where it says office use of your home. Let me see, what'd you say? Let me read. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The square footage that you use for business only. Not all the square footage of your house. Just the square footage of your home that you use So if you have 2 empty rooms in your house and you use both for business, you could do that. And the garage, that too. You do ride sharing. When you do ride sharing, the garage square footage to keep your car in the garage is part of the square footage of your house. Yeah, it's the percentage. All of them is a percentage. All of it is a percentage. But it asks you. See, I worked at the IRS. That's why I know. See, that's what I did for 10.5 years. And actually, I worked at the IRS in '96. But all of it is a percentage. But but who keeps? Yeah, I know what you're saying, but you don't keep. There's nothing. That's not true. It's not. The garage not really that big of a. It's not really that big of a thing. You don't use your garage for personal. Your garage is still kept. You still keep your. Now the internet froze. I can't read it. My computer froze.